All right, welcome everybody. I am Kevin Kelly. I'm one of the conference organizers and I'm also the moderator for this session. And so I'm just going to give a few small logistic details and then we'll kick things off. This session is being recorded and that's for our colleagues who couldn't join us in real time. So for those of you watching the recording, hello and nice to see you in the future. We are using captions. So if you want to use the automated Zoom captions during this session, you can go to the bottom of the Zoom window. There should be a closed caption button, or sometimes if your screen is a little smaller, there'll be 3 dots that say more, and you'll just select live transcript and you'll be able to turn those captions on. The chat is open and available. We've already seen lots of people introduce themselves, but we hope you'll pose questions there and that we'll moderate and discuss with the panelists. And toward the end of the hour, we'll share how we can continue the conversation online with Padlet. So now I'd like to introduce our presenters, Roberta Sullivan, who goes by Robin, and Nicole Simon. And I'll let you introduce yourselves the way you'd like to be introduced and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kevin. And thank you for the opportunity to share information through this great conference. So the topic that we're going to be talking about is exploring emerging technologies for lifelong learning and success. It is a project that is sponsored through the State University of New York at Buffalo. And in general, we'll talk about how we can help learners gain equitable lifelong learning and digital literacy skills by using this innovative project. The URL for EmTech, which is how we refer to the project in shorthand, is suny.edu/EmTech. And that's suny.edu/EmTechWIKI for those of you that might be chiming into the recordings. My name is Robin Sullivan. If you need to look me up anywhere, Roberta is my legal name. That's how I'll show up in the University at Buffalo directory. I am a teaching and learning specialist with education services in our libraries. UB is one of 64 SUNY campuses, and it is an R1 institution. I am here today with my colleague, Nicole Simon, and Nicole is going to introduce herself. Our emails are on the screen. I will definitely share the slides with Kevin so that he can make them available through the conference website, and please feel free to follow up with us with additional questions. Nicole, can you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Simon from SUNY Nassau Community College. I'm a STEM professor. I'm also an instructional designer and an EdTech specialist, and I've been with the SUNY EmTech project for a number of years, both as a fellow and now on the other side of the house as a mentor.
Great, thank you. So in today's internet society, digital society, there are millions and billions of different technology tools that are available online. And they're always growing, always changing. Something that might have been very popular yesterday could very well be not available today. They all have a different variation in their purpose and many in their quality. And there's a challenge to try to figure out how do we know which of these apps to use and how these apps will help us create an equitable situation for the learners that we're trying to reach. That's where EmTech comes into play. I mentioned the real long name, SUNY Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success. For short, we call it EmTech, and it's also referred to as EmTech MOOC. The premise is that it is discovery learning to explore and reflect on creative uses of emerging technologies. The audience that we're trying to reach is very broad. I'm an instructional designer, that's my main role. And so faculty were the initial group that we had targeted with this framework, with this model of learning. And the idea is, how can we allow people to get digital and media literacy skills And that's something that you need to continually improve. You can't just be static, not with the fast pace of technology change nowadays. So we target faculty, we target instructors, both K-12 and higher ed. There's also a need to make this learning opportunity available to students. So students in higher ed, sometimes high school can also participate. It's not really targeted to the students in the elementary grades. But in addition, everybody in society needs to be able to function in today's digital society. So the project is wide open. Anybody that has an interest to improve their media and digital literacy skills is welcome and encouraged to participate. Whether you are a very novice in your understanding, or if you're an advanced user, you can tailor this opportunity to meet your specific needs. And Nicole is going to take over and kind of introduce the two-part functions of EmTech.
So when we talk about EmTech, as Robin said, there are two parts. There's the MOOC portion, which is a Coursera MOOC. It provides a supportive online learning opportunity. It allows, whether you're K-12 or you're higher ed or you're actually a high school student, the ability to increase your digital skills, become more digital literate, and really kind of tailor your learning to where you're at. And I like that about the MOOC, that we're able to scale it down to what you need to know and scale it up to bring you up to where you should be. But there are two portions to it. And again, the first portion is the MOOC through Coursera, which allows the user to go through very specific modules and kind of tailor their learning to what they know, what they need to know, and what they want to use it for in their everyday skills. Next slide. Thank you. So when I talk about how we kind of tailor those modules, we base this on the lifelong learning and the 4 C's of the 21st century skills, which include communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And these 21st century skills are needed to not only become digitally literate, but digitally proficient in the ever-growing technological field. And with these modules, there are different components of how you learn and how you go through the process of picking out the most appropriate technology tools, again, for what it is that the skills that you need, whether you're just learning as a novice or you're building up your skills, whether you're a K-12 educator or you're higher ed, or you're a high school student, or you're just an adult learner looking to learn more. And each of those different 21st century skills kind of correspond to the second part of the EmTech project. So when we talk about digital and media literacy skills, we really want to increase your growth mindset, why you want to learn and how you can learn and how we can build up those skill sets. We want to make sure that you're creating a digital footprint, an identity, but more importantly, a correct digital footprint. It's not just a matter of swiping left, swiping right, or playing online. It's a matter of using the skills in the most appropriate way possible. And I keep saying that, it's the educator part of me, but we want to make sure that you're learning and you're learning properly on all levels. We want to make sure that you're increasing your information literacy, how to get appropriate and correct information from the web and from technology and how to use it. To be able to teach you about Creative Commons and the whole concept of sharing out ideas. To make sure that you're learning about accessibility and why it's so important and how you need to be an advocate for that. Making sure that you understand about digital privacy and security, and again, becoming an advocate for that. The second portion of the EmTech project is the EmTechWIKI. And the EmTechWIKI is a socially curated wiki that's a repository of both freely available and very low cost tools and resources. We use this in the EmTech MOOC to complete those skill sets, the discovery exercises, those 4 different areas that I just talked about, but it's also an open website. You can use as a standalone resource. And I've used it as a standalone resource in my courses, where I've been able to bring my students in and say, yes, you do need to know this component, or yes, we're including this component in the course to build my students' digital literacy skills. So you can do it several different ways. You can just take the MOOC as is, and the wiki complements to help you understand and help you learn about those tech tools, or you can just use the wiki as a standalone site. So when we're talking about the wiki, again, you're able to kind of customize your learning within those 4 C's of lifelong learning skills, being able to take a look at the different modules: communication and collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. We've broken it down into those 4 areas to make it manageable, because the wiki is very extensive, and we want you to be able to really kind of hone your skills on what it is that you need to find a technology tool for, or not just a technology tool, but to find technology resources. You have the ability to filter by different objectives what it is that you need to or want to learn about, or what it is that you need to or want to find the appropriate tool for. Beyond that, there are different categories. So you have your 4 C's, which correspond against 4 modules within the MOOC. You have the ability to apply objectives for learning objectives, and then take a look at different categories to drill down even deeper, and then take a look at what those different technology tools or resources are, learn about them, and then use that information to help you explore in the MOOC or help you explore outside of MOOC using the wiki, that aspect. Slide. Thank you. We do have the ability to have you contribute to the wiki. It's, again, socially curated, so you do have a lot of ability to bring in resources, and we always encourage that. We can't know every single technology tool out there or technology resource, so please, if you have something, make sure that you create an account and log in and contribute to the wiki. That's how it gets built. Being able to bring information in, share out that information. And we also have a rating system where we can see how often these tools are used and how people are using them appropriately and in what context. That's really how we get our data on the back end, but more importantly, that's how you get to understand and know which tools are the best for what function you're looking for.
Great, thank you, Nicole. And I do want to especially encourage the group of attendees at Peralta to contribute to the wiki. We will be sharing many resources that you can refer to, that that you can use to make any course content that you're developing more accessible, that you can learn more about universal design and you know, how to caption videos, how to make sure that the materials you create are you know, hitting a diverse audience. And we will share some specific resources. For example, one of them is just a stock photo gallery that looks at stock photos with a diverse lens. How can you make sure that the photos that you put into your presentations are representative of everybody that might be in your learning society? So I do want to especially encourage everybody in this webinar and anybody that views the recording to go to the EmTechWIKI site, and thank you everybody for adding the links into the chat to get there. Go to the contribute menu and create yourself a login, and then I'm certain that people will have resources that we do not yet have in that wiki, and classify them based on you know, how they fit into those objectives and the categories that Nicole was showing. So I just do want to point out that you do need to create an account to contribute to the wiki. It is moderated, so before it goes live, one of the members of the EmTech team will look it over and make sure that you know, the formatting's there and it's within our scope, and then we will moderate it and make it available. In addition, the Coursera MOOC, a separate account is needed to participate in the MOOC. You can use these 2 pieces independently. You can just use the wiki as a resource so that when you're looking for something, go there, figure out what your objective is, and then try to narrow down what's the tool or the resource that's most appropriate for your needs. We have about 500 different records in there right now. And I'd say about 2/3 of them are considered a tool, and then another third are resources. So they might be tutorials. How do you teach students, you know, about their digital footprint, or how to assess the value of information that they're finding? And then the others are specific tools, whether it's, you know, introducing, this is YouTube, and here's how you use it. Here's instructions on how to add captions to your YouTube. Here's, you know, some resources to create infographics. So one of the principles of universal design is to provide a variety of options for learners so that they can find the material that's most suitable for the way that they prefer to learn. So if you can make materials available in different modalities, you're getting a little bit closer to that goal. If you wish to rate a tool, which is something that will help everybody, you do not need to create any account. You can just go to the wiki, find one of the resources on the site, pull up that page, and then there is a little up and down arrow that you'll see. If you feel that it's a beneficial resource, click the up arrow. When somebody comes back to the wiki, they can sort by the highest rated items, and it will help people understand, out of those billions of tools that I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, which one might best suit their specific needs. So this project has been implemented through the SUNY system. I think we're in probably our 4th year, and with EmTech being live. It was built on an earlier model that was mainly restricted just to the SUNY faculty. And then when we redesigned, we made it available globally through the Coursera platform. And so it's been up for a few years. So we're trying to think of ways, how can we improve this even further? And I do want to introduce another colleague who joined us. Chris Marchese is on the call. She is another faculty from Nassau Community College. And so she is very instrumental in helping us to improve EmTech further. We are looking to improve that taxonomy. If you've ever tried to organize a number of resources into categories and subcategories with tags, it's not an easy task. And so Chris is assisting us to improve that process. And we are also working with programmers on the back end to make that searching process even smoother. You go to Google and it's got a great algorithm to help you find what you're looking for. We're trying to improve the EmTech taxonomy as well. We are also trying to work to address the needs of some special interest groups. SUNY has an organization called the Center for Online International Learning, and for short, it's called COIL. And so we've added a category into the wiki called virtual exchange. And so if you are working with students that are across the globe or learners of any sort, you can go to that category under virtual exchange, and that group is kind of suggesting these are the tools that are accessible to the learners, no matter where they're coming in from. And these are the critical tools that we want to highlight. We are also trying to maybe reach further to address the needs of K-12 faculty. We started this in mind with college faculty, but we recently received a grant. This project is supported through some grants that were awarded through the SUNY system and the University of Buffalo. We recently earned a grant through the National Education Association that is helping us expand our reach to more address the needs of K-12 instructors. And there's a few challenges that you run up against when you're dealing with freely available technologies. Normally in a college situation, you have committees and many processes that have to be followed in order for a tool to be considered a campus standard or a campus adopted tool. Tools come up and they are introduced so quickly, and there's so many of them, it's nearly impossible for campus committees to continually endorse these freely available tools. But how is an instructor supposed to know? Is this tool accessible? Is this tool honor the privacy and security needs of the students? Is it compliant with FERPA or GDPR or any of those other type of standards that measure privacy and security? So we have a student right now who has been interning his time to help us add that level of to the taxonomy. So we have spreadsheets that are trying to gauge the level of accessibility of each of the tools. And if we find something that is not meeting our needs, we're removing them from the collection. So we are measuring also based on the privacy and security. If if we find any information that a tool should not be included in the wiki, we are taking steps to remove them. Another piece to address the needs of the COIL virtual exchange, we're trying to assess if these tools are available across different nationalities. And that's something else that we'll be adding to our taxonomy system. So I'm just, if anybody has questions as we're going through it, we would appreciate, raise your hand. Nicole and Chris can help us keep an eye on that. And, we'd be happy to let you unmute and ask questions as they come up. Also, please feel free to enter them directly into the chat. And also through the Padlet would be fine as well. So the process, Nicole did a nice introduction of the MOOC and the wiki. I'm just going to describe it a little briefly. We have these 4 steps. So if you do decide to participate in the MOOC, what you would do is you would go in and you would read and view and participate with those course materials. After you are in the different modules that apply, that they're mapped to lifelong learning is the first module, and then the 4 C's are the following modules. You would then be pointed back to the wiki and say, okay, if you're in the communication module, it'll send you back to the wiki. It'll narrow down those 500 tools to the tools that then fall into communication and collaboration. And then you can then narrow down even further to address what are the objectives and what are the categories that you are most interested to discover. And then you're asked to do a discovery activity. You create an account on the website that you've narrowed down on, and then you would create an artifact. That artifact might be a video, it might be a blog post, it might be an infographic. You would then be directed to create an ePortfolio. We have about 40 freely available tools to create ePortfolios right in the system. If your campus has a system that is in place for ePortfolios, we highly recommend that you use that system. And if you have an ePortfolio already, you're welcome to just keep adding to your portfolio. You add your artifacts into the ePortfolio site, and then a few paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs to reflect. What is it that you learned about the resource that you discovered? Is it useful for your needs? And would you use it again? The final step is that you would be able to earn Coursera badges and a certificate. And so, what are the rewards? Why even bother doing this? One of the rewards you get out of this at the end is that you would have a personal portfolio if you choose to go that direction. You would also have a certificate from Coursera. Coursera is probably one of the most popular MOOC platforms that are out there. And in addition, SUNY has been awarding digital badges for those that complete MTech. The most valuable reward we hope that you would get is the intrinsic rewards of being a lifelong learner. That first module is pretty much the most important module out of all of them, that gives you some of the lifelong learning habits such as growth mindset and information understanding, such as things that Nicole had mentioned. So the whole learning opportunity through EmTech is freely available to anybody in the world that wishes to participate. The only time that costs do come into play is if you do want to earn that certificate and digital badge. You can enroll in Coursera at no cost, take the whole thing, complete the course. You could take a screen grab of the course, said congratulations, you completed MTech. But if you want to have that official badge and that official certificate, there is a $29 cost for participation. If anyone is part of the SUNY system. Since SUNY has developed this project, you have kind of an added benefit of being able to participate and earn the certificate and the badges at no cost. There are many Coursera promotions that are continually going through. And probably the biggest one in the state of New York, anybody that is either unemployed or underemployed can go to the New York State Department of Labor website, create an account to access Coursera and enroll in many of the courses at no cost. There are a number of other states that are following suit. I think Tennessee and Minnesota might be others. But check also with your campus. SUNY has made an agreement with Coursera that all SUNY students, faculty, and staff can go in and take the vast majority of their courses and specializations and earn free certificates and badges when they're being offered. And that may be available for your campus as well. So, check with your campus and or your organization. So hopefully, but keep in mind, it's totally free for anyone, anywhere. It's only when you want those extra badges of completion that you'll be charged. And you can take the whole thing and then pay for it afterwards if that's what you wish to do. So I probably should have had this slide up as I was talking. So it's free for all, minus the certificates and badges. There's the link for the New York State Department of Labor that's also linked to from the SUNY website that we shared in the chat under the FAQs. And it's definitely something that Coursera has an amazing reach. We have had over 31,000 people register for this project. And I believe a lot of that is because of the reach that Coursera has. And it's, we reach out to people from many different countries. And I personally find it very rewarding to read some of the reflections of where people are coming in from. The different cohorts we had, when a group of people learn about the project and they start interacting, they tell their friends and then they tell their friends. And even just one example, in the country of Singapore, we saw many police and firefighters and civil service who enrolled in the course and used it for the training materials that they were creating in their positions. So we are going to try to squeeze in a little bit of an interactive exercise, and then we will talk about some of the impact that this project has had. But if you could, on your personal computer or device or phone, whatever you have access to, we would love to have you go to the project. And I'm going to put the, Nicole, can you type the link in the chat again? And put the HTTP in there too, because then it's a clickable link for everybody to make it a little bit easier. We would love to have you click on the link and go to the EmTech website. And then we can hopefully have a conversation about some of the tools and tutorials and resources that are in there that might help you meet your specific objectives. And while you're doing that, I think Nicole and I will just kind of talk a little bit about some of the resources that are in there that that can specifically meet the needs of making your materials a little bit more equitable and accessible across. So again, I'm going to break too if there's other questions that anybody has thought of that that would be appropriate. Great.
Hey, Robin, we had a question and a comment in the Padlet. There was some love shared for the attention to student privacy and the global focus as well, which Nick was kind enough to add is near and dear to our hearts. And we had a question about knowing of other campuses that have been using or participating at a campus level, which Nassau has done as well as other schools in the SUNY system. And I noted that at our campus, at mine and Nick's campus, we do it with a cohort model, and it's an opportunity that's offered to all, but not required. And the cohort model really works well. It was very successful. We all complete when we do it together, you know, when we have that kind of mutual in-person support as well as our virtual support.
Great, thank you.
And again, you also have that ability to kind of custom tailor, even though it's a set of, you know, each of the different modules, you get to tailor what it is that you're looking for and what it is that you may want to share out. You're sharing out your artifacts potentially in an ePortfolio or just with the MOOC community on what it is that you're using for whether it's your students or your own professional learning, how you want to express yourself. And I always say that because you have thousands of technology tools and resources out there. Use what works best for you, and being able to have that flexibility, especially if you're doing it in a cohort model like Chris had mentioned, you're able to take a look at what is your campus or what is your school district or what is that your discipline needs and how you can frame it around what it is you're learning. You're not reinventing the wheel, you're taking what you're doing wonderfully and enhancing it with technology.
Yes, we definitely do not want the tools to overshadow the objectives. That's why we, you know, probably the biggest change we made when we went from the older process to this process is adding the ability to start narrowing down what is the goal of what you're trying to do. And once you figure that out, then it'll lead you towards, you know, what are the tools or the resources that will help you achieve that. So this is the EmTech website, and if you just go to that short URL, right now it blows up to that really long, ugly URL, but it works. It's still a URL. We're trying to make have it keep the SUNY URL as it goes forward. But once you are here, you can get to the wiki in two different ways. So this is the home page of the site. You can click on this link that says Discover EmTechWIKI. Also up at the top, you can click on Discover, and that takes you to the same place. So there's about 500 different tools and resources, 555 today. Hopefully, after you all get a hold of it, that'll increase it even further. So if you're coming here from the Coursera MOOC and you're coming from the communication and collaboration area, it will automatically start narrowing down those choices. And so brought it down to 477. And you can say, well, my objective, I'm trying to communicate and I'm trying to, you know, possibly share information. So it'll narrow down even further. You see about 3 resources at a time. And then you can keep clicking to show more. And you can also organize those either by popularity or by rating. So, you know, the elements of design is something, as we are all becoming media literate and just talking in ways other than strictly text on a page, you need to be able to understand what are some of the design principles. So if you come here and you say, well, this is a great resource, you can click these little arrows and vote it up. Something I think, you know, that's another thing that we're trying to improve in our redesign of the site. How can we point people better to these ratings? Because people are not really seeing that as clearly as we want them to. So we're trying to redesign that a little bit better. But then you would come here and you would see, okay, here is the link to the particular reference, and you can follow it and you know, learn more about whatever it is that you discovered. And so some of the other items that I want to share, let's see, inside of here, one of the categories is accessibility. And I'm just gonna kind of click on that. And so there's a number of resources. Some faculty, PDF is kind of the bane of the existence of accessibility. You have to make extra steps in order to be sure that the PDF that you create that looks wonderfully also is able to be accessed by somebody that has different levels of vision and hearing and the ability for motor impairments. So there's a number of things you can do to make PDF documents more accessible. Sometimes that might require the full-blown Adobe Acrobat suite. If you don't have access to that, here is a freely available tool that will allow you to do some basic manipulation of PDF files. We're in no way saying that these tools rival their commercial counterparts, but if you don't have access to some of the more commercialized tools that have all the bells and whistles, some of these free tools are very useful. This is the link for the diverse stock photography website that I mentioned. So there's actually 13 different resources on this write-up that says, how do you write or how do you put some of these images into your site? And so it's just something to keep in mind. How are you making sure that all audiences, all groups are represented? Has anyone found anything that, okay, so Kevin, I think you might have put the link in there. Is that diverse image galleries? Do you want to talk about that? And hopefully you'll add it to our site too.
Certainly will. So yeah, based on work that I've done with Peralta Community College District for their training related to the equity rubric, and we want students to be able to see themselves in the course materials and the curriculum. We put together this list of galleries for faculty to be able to find free images or images for a fee if they're looking for some more professional stuff that are dedicated to having a more diverse representation of our students. So whether it be students with disabilities or students of color or women or all the above, people of different ages, body sizes, they're all included in that gallery list there.
Great. I hope that you can add this to the wiki before I do. I did bookmark it just so that, hopefully if you forget about it, I'll make sure to get it in there. But this is exactly the type of resource that we are looking for to continue to add to EmTech. And this is really, really beneficial. Thank you. Thank you. And so let's see some other resources. Being able to create captions is something that's always very difficult, but it's a necessary evil. I don't think I should call it necessary. It's necessary. So there are different tools available to help you transcribe videos. There's some how-to documents on how to add captioning to YouTube. That process changes often. So we're, one really great thing of why the wiki is so beneficial is that it's much easier for us to just go in and make updates, and it's up and crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is just that people can help us in this large task. So we have about a few minutes left. Has anyone found a resource that they'd like to share and talk about that they found through their, hopefully peek at the site? I'll give it just a second. Anybody?
Hi, everyone. I'll jump in. I don't usually do this in front of a bunch of people I don't know so well, but I'm Danielle Leek. I'm from Reynolds Community College. This is a great resource. So thank you so much for presenting and making it available. It may not be new to you all, but it's new to me. But I found iNaturalist, which is a space for citizen science observations of plants and animals, an online community for naturalists, which is really cool and something I've never seen before. And I found it as part of, I was looking for sharing information and simulations, which is just an area I'm working with a number. I work in a Center for Teaching and Learning, and I'm working with a number of STEM faculty. And so I was just really curious to see what might be part of that category. So thank you for providing such a really I love how it's organized and you can apply those filters. And I've never seen this before. So that was awesome.
Danielle, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing. And, iNaturalist is a great tool. And the simulations category is one that is kind of, tugging at my heartstrings right now. I think Nicole too is, we are now able to create simulations that we could not do, previously. The tools are getting more accessible for us. And so, just being able to look at, what are some of these different tools are available. And I've been making some 360-degree kind of escape room tours. And so thank you very much. So we're going to go back to our slides and just kind of really quickly wrap up and get some more questions.
So sorry, we have a hand raised.
Oh, yes, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just a quick comment. I also explored and I looked at the ePortfolio. That's the assignment that I give to my students, but I saw that there are so many options and I can enhance the instruction because I created the rubric myself, but it seems like how to create in Google site. There's really clear instructions that I can use for my future classes. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we just want to give you a little bit of the rundown. I want to leave time for more questions, but if you click on this link, Nicole or Chris, if you can put that into the chat, it shows you a lot of the impact, some of the statistics of how many people have gone through. This just shows you a global view. We've had over 31,000 learners enroll. The different circles show the larger groups. New York has got the biggest circle. They who pay our salaries, so we're kind of concentrating on them the most. India is got a big cohort, Mexico, and 150 different countries. So that's kind of amazing. There are this final slide has a link to a page that has announcements and flyers and takeaways, a 1-minute video that will kind of summarize what we said in just about a minute. So if you want to share this with colleagues. We also, we have a call for partnerships under the About menu. So we need help. We are a small core group, but we've had hundreds of people across the SUNY system who have helped us. We want to expand even further. We would love it if you could share info about EmTech, contribute tools and resources and rate the tools and resources that you see. You can become an EmTech fellow after you complete the course. In that community in the MOOC, we want people to be supporting each other. We're even looking for scholarly researchers, anybody that wants to take some of the data that we've collected and try to analyze it. We would love to share that with you. Grant writers, there's a big, huge need for people to help us write grants. So please feel free to reach out. This final slide just has the generic email, but you're welcome to reach out to any one of us directly, but emtechmooc@gmail.com. And I only left us 2 or 3 minutes for questions. So I hope somebody has some questions that we can address. Anybody have any ideas of how we can improve this further? Or other resources that we should consider adding? And we will keep an eye on that Padlet board as well. Kevin, I don't know if you can tell us if there's anything that got posted there that we missed.
I'll take a quick look at, but it is not only for the folks who are in the room now, but for those who are going to be watching this recording. So we're excited. It looks like people have shared campuses that have been using or participating at a campus level, and it looks like the 2 presenters. So we'll make sure we keep an eye on that throughout the conference and after. These have been getting hits as much as 6 months after last year's conference. So we do know that people with a long tail effect are visiting the recordings and learning and benefiting from the great work like what you all have shared today.
Great. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about EmTech, and we look forward to meeting you all again in the course and further in this conference. And for those of you that watch the recording later.
Fantastic. Well, we have a little bit of a break before our next session begins at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and all times in between and beyond in the other directions. So we hope you'll join us back again here or in rooms B or C. So go ahead back to the website and take a look at what might be interesting to you to visit. And with that, I'll just say thank you again to all the folks from New York. Robin, Chris, Nicole, and I know your other colleague couldn't join us, but we're excited to be able to share this work with the community. And so enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone. I put the conference website in the chat so people can easily get there to see where the next sessions are. And we'll see you throughout the week.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.